Yes, sir, and welcome back to another Dark and Darker mobile video. You already know we coming with it. This is the advanced wizard class guide, you know what I'm saying? For this one, I queued into Nightmare Goblin Caves just so you can get a little bit more like a sense of really what affects and doesn't affect like the wizard in a one-on-one scenario, so you can kind of understand how that will carry over into team fights, right? Boom. So a lot of the thing with the wizard is very, very powerful, but very, very squishy. If someone is able to close the distance on you and you aren't necessarily prepared with either the spells that you come in with, like, you know what I'm saying, some defensive spells, some protection potions, or just overall maybe the gear that you choose, if you opt in for maybe some more armor, maybe more heavy physical defensive armor, you know what I'm saying, those are the kind of things that you kind of want to like plan around. I opt to play pyro mage. I'm a full fire mage, all of my spells, but my spells are geared towards putting up high DPS, crowd control, and also basically it's DPS and crowd control, right? And then it's two different ways, right? I tend to open up with the fireball. The fireball is a big DPS and it's like AoE. It's a big amount of damage. It inflicts burn, you know what I'm saying? And burn is that sustained damage that we're looking for, you know what I'm saying, to make sure that people are being punished for, you know what I'm saying, in those longer fights, you know what I'm saying, keeping them up off you and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying. I then opt for enchant flames. If they are able to close the distance, then I can enchant my flame swords, also getting that extra damage and inflicting that burn, keeping that burn up on them for that sustained damage. I have the flame feat, so as I run away, I'm lighting my ground on fire. Boom. And you see that dude, he was punished for it because he probably didn't realize what was happening. He probably just thought he was burnt, but not realizing that the ground was what was on fire, what was hurting him. And that is basically to cover the tracks in very close range scenarios to basically punish on that extra damage. Do you opt for heal? So for the I rock the little flame passive mastery because it stops people from healing if they're inflicted with burn. So if you burn someone and then you end up in an engagement where you're really gonna run, because if anyone actually knows, then they'll know that they can't heal, so they don't want to get into a situation where you catch the up on them, basically, you feel what I'm saying? And then I have the explosion. If I whip out the spell book gives you faster casting speed, but the crystal sword gives you buff duration. So for your enchant flames, you know what I'm saying, the flame feet and all, you know what I'm saying, the buffs, those are active a lot more. Boom, they're a lot longer, but your spellbook allows you to cast faster. So if I have the distance, I will opt for using my spell book to cast my longer range spells, like my explosion, to stick the explosion onto them really fast and then probably follow it with an explosion. The spell book also has an ability where it lets you use the last spell that you use. So if I open up, I technically am allowed to open up 3 fireballs, or if I use enchant feat, then I can use it again. Basically any spell you use, you can use it again, but you then have the cooldown. So, you know, there's a lot of flexibility that comes with the mage, especially when you consider the other elements and stuff like that. Like, you know what I'm saying, I ran into like a frost lightning wizard earlier and he was running with the 3-stack rogue and priest. Very powerful setup, very, very powerful setup. The wizard basically shines with the flexibility that it has. It has survivability and DPS, and it can easily out DPS a lot of the classes, including the barbarian and the ranger. If played correctly, you can pretty much dominate any class. When it comes to nightmare and hell modes, it also comes down to mob management. When you are moving through the dungeons, you don't want to necessarily aggro too many enemies that you can deal with. Always just take the time to deal with 1 to 2 enemies at a time, depending, and then just kind of move like that, and then maximizing on loot, as we've always talked about. Maximize on your loot. Also, make sure that you're looking out for your collections. I'll do a guide for that tomorrow morning. The collections are very good for enhancing your builds overall for all of your classes, and it basically just kind of gives you a reason to go into the dungeon and look for specific pieces of gear. Again, another deep dive on that tomorrow. But again, as you should see, like, the mage just it's a DPS. He's a DPS machine, like, you know what I'm saying, paper thin, but you're a glass cannon, basically. That's basically the best way to describe the wizard or mage builds. And again, a lot of flexibility comes with the mage, you know what I'm saying. You just really have to sit there and play around with it. it's a lot slower, and like I said, the movement speed is a lot slower and stuff like that. But you just kind of account for that in spacing and making sure that you don't either don't get caught off guard, and make sure you have a good opening, or make sure that you have spells equipped for defense and survival. You know, the lightning category comes with that little blink escape spell, and frost comes with the defensive barrier. I rock with the passive that gives you a 50 hit shield upon being hit, so that just gives me that time to either get away, or, you know what I'm saying, just make sure that when I do happen to get into a close range fight that isn't necessarily in my favor, it gives me that little bit more survivability that I might be looking for, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to things like that. Overall, I'd say the mage is more maybe like leaning towards like the more intermediate of the classes, but if mastered, the mage is practically one of the best classes. Like, honestly, I mean, like, right there outside of like the ranger, it's simply because you have more flexibility with your range and close range attacks, and the capability of buffing your attacks and buffing yourself, your attacks, and debuffing your enemies all in one is just it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Equipped with the right amount of heals and preparation, also equipped with the right 3-stack, the mage is probably the most troublesome of the classes currently when it comes to team fights. So, you know what I'm saying? Paired up with the priest, insane. It is insane. Then a barb who can also buff the teammates, that's a crazy composition. Like, barb, priest, wizard is a really, really good composition that I don't really see a lot of people running. So if you're maybe struggling with some more of the PvP, or I mean the PvE oriented things, or maybe going into hell trying to like farm the bosses or the skeletal champions or something like that, you could probably opt for something like that that focuses on like buffs and sustainability throughout fights. Boom. Yeah, I'd say that that's pretty much all of it when it comes to the wizard. The wizard is more or less like it's, you know, for reiteration, it's a glass cannon build that specializes in sustained damage and AoE and crowd control. Very good solo and adds a lot to team compositions. Best paired with barbarian or in priest, and in my honest opinion. And I honestly say rock a crystal sword and a spell book. I would maybe stay away from the staff, as it just doesn't bring a lot to the table in my opinion when compared to the benefits of the other two options. You feel me? Very easy for PvE content, and knowing how all of your gold and stash transfer between your characters, this could be a good viable method for maybe farming up gear for your other classes, so you could begin to experiment more with those. I really hope that you guys enjoyed the video and that you learned a lot. And if you like darker and darker mobile content and are looking for any guides, this is the place to be. Make sure you like, subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Never.